Hello fabulous DIYers, it's Diana Tabwa here, and in this video I'm going to share with you how to make this puff sleeve v-neck flared dress. If you guys are interested in seeing how to do this, let's begin. So you're going to be needing 2 to 2.5 yards of your shell fabric and 2.5 yards again for your lining. Also, you will be needing 1 yard to 2 yards of crinoline. It's best to have more than necessary. So in my last video I showed you guys how to drape this bodice. If you haven't seen that video, you want to head over to the video link here in the video and it will show you how to create this pattern. Now once you have your drape bodice already fitted on the mannequin, it is time for you to go ahead and take it apart for you to go ahead and put it on paper. We're going to transfer each pattern piece on paper. Here I am ironing every single pattern piece because I want it to be nice and straight so I can get the accurate measurements and fit as possible. So once you have everything ironed out nice and neatly, you want to get a piece of pattern paper. This pattern paper I'm going to be using to transfer the patterns onto. Here I'm going to be drawing a line that will be my center back line. This will help me to create my grain line as well. So I just basically drew a 1-inch mark here, and then I place the center back line of my back bodice against that line. Once you have done that, you want to go ahead and trace the whole entire bodice, and I'm going to mark my dart with this rotary, but it helps me to give the indentation of the dart in my pattern. As you can see, there it is once I lift up the pattern. I take my curve ruler to go back and perfect any lines that I see it's not perfect, and then for my reference I go ahead and draw my 1/2 inch mark. Here I am adjusting the dart. I'm taking my curve ruler to readjust the dart. You can do the same. If yours is straighter, use a straight ruler. Once I've done that, I also draw in my grain line and also put the indication of which pattern this is. Once again, I drew a straight grain line, and then now I place the front bodice against that straight grain line. The front bodice will be cut twice. I do add a 1/2 inch at the front because I want it to be like that, and then I trace the whole entire pattern, as you can see me doing it here. As you can see, the neckline, I did not remove that dart because it is a dart there to remove some of that excess. I also draw in my dart, and then once I go back, you want to make sure that you do mark the placement of the sleeve at the armhole. Once again, I'm going to add my 1/2 inch seam allowance as usual. Again, I drew in my grain line, and now I'm going to do another center front line, and I place the bottom portion of the bodice against the line. It will not have a seam allowance. It's going to be cut on the fold. So I retrace it and perfect the lines if necessary, and then add my 1/2 inch. So that is the center front of my bodice. Here is my sleeves. These are 2 parts to my sleeves. On the right hand side is the front part of the sleeve, and the left hand side is the back part of the sleeve. I'm going to retrace it and also mark where I'm going to be doing my shirring, and then draw in the center of the sleeve part, as you can see here. I will be connecting that later on as I will show you later on in the video. So it looks like this. I'm going to draw my grain line once again and indicate which part of the sleeve this is. Once you have done that, you want to cut all patterns out, and it will look just like this. And now you are ready to cut. Here's my fabric, that is the outside shell. I basically folded in half, selvage to selvage, and I placed all my patterns on the fabric and cut it out. The bottom portion of the front bodice is cut on the fold, as you can see here. And once you finish cutting all your patterns out, it's time for you to put them together. So I went to go ahead and pin all my darts. I decided to use the outside of my dart, so my dart would be exposed. I did not want it to be clean and finished because that's in my design style, but you can do it as clean as you want. It will look just like this, all pinned up and ready to sew. Now once I've sewn all my darts, I go ahead and press. You want to press all your darts down so that way it can be a nice clean finish and it will look nice and neat. Just like this. I will also do this for the front top part of the bodice as well. Once you are complete, now it's time for you to put it together. So here I'm going to place the front top portion of the bodice together, and I'm going to sew down the center front, leaving it a 1/2 inch at the top tip of where it begins. And then once you have that sewn down, it is time to connect it to the lower part of the bodice. I'm going to do it one side at a time so that way I can get that point. So I'm going to do one side. Here I'm going to stitch it a 1/2 inch up until the point or the seam allowance. And then once you do that, it's going to look like this. And then you want to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side of the top bodice. And you want to also meet it at that same point. And then it will look just like this. And here on my center, on my seam allowance, I'm going to cut away a 1/4 inch so that way it won't be so bumpy when it's placed into the dress. And I'm going to press that down because I want it to be nice and flat and neat. So once I put my lining in, it won't be too bulky in that area. And here's the seaming. It's nice and neat and clean. Now it's time for you to place your back portion onto the front part of the bodice and stitch it down so you can have your front top portion of the bodice done. Here are my sleeves. I already cut it out. I had already cut my notches for where I'm going to be doing my gathers. Here is one piece of the sleeve. It's supposed to be 2 sets of sleeves, and I already have cleaned it up with a 1/4 inch stitching. So I cleaned it up inside where the seam was and outside the edge, leaving the top edge of the sleeve raw. And I'm going to do that here with the other one. That's going to be the front portion of the sleeve. And as you can see, I'm just going to roll it very small and tiny so it can be nice and neat. It's about an 1/8 to 1/4 inch. Don't want to go bigger than that. And once you have that all stitched down, you're going to press. I like to press on my seams to make sure that it's nice and flat and neat. So you want to do that for all edges except the top portion of the sleeve. And once you have pressed everything out, this is what it will look like. And I'm going to now place the back to the front and sew it down about 4 inches. So that way it will be the sleeve will look like this, a whole piece of sleeve. Now here I'm going to add a piece of crinoline. I want the sleeve to be nice and puffy. Since my fabric is like on a chiffon, it loses its body, so the crinoline will help bring that shape back in the puff. So here I'm just going to add a 2-inch strip of crinoline from the mark of where I'm going to shear it. And here I sheared it, and it will look just like this. And I'm going to now insert it into the armhole. I'm going to match all seams, like the center front to the shoulder seam and the notches that I indicated on the pattern. And once you have completed, it will look just like this, nice and puff, and it will stay up on a chiffon. Once that's complete, you want to repeat that same process for the other sleeve and then check to see if you like the fit. Now it's time to work on the skirt, and here I'm going to cheat. I'm going to take the remainder piece of fabric and I'm going to fold it selvage to selvage, edge to edge, and then fold it once more again so it'll be doubles, and it is about 26 inches long, and I'm going to split that in half. So you're going to have 2 pieces. Now I took one away, so I'm going to leave that for my center front of my dress. With the second piece, I'm going to slit it again at the fold, and this will be 2 back pieces. Now I'm going to take the front of my dress as you can see here. And my edge is already on the selvage. It's very nice and clean. I don't need to do anything there, so I'm not gonna go ahead and clean that. If your edge is raw, you may want to fix that and clean it. And I'm going to connect it to the other selvage that goes to the back of the dress, and that will be my side seam. And once you have those two side seams pinned, you want to go ahead and stitch that down. Now I pressed it nice and open so it can be nice and neat. And then I also did a 1/4 of an inch finishing at the back edge. It was raw, so I want to clean that up as well. And now once I complete that, I went ahead and sheared the top of the waistline so I can gather it into the waist of the bodice like you see here. It's going to look just like this once it's finished. Make sure it's nice and clean. I also did a 1/4 of an inch hem as well. And now I'm getting ready to install my invisible zipper. Now once you have installed your invisible zipper, it will look just like this, nice and neat. And now you have to get ready to do the same thing all over for your lining. Now with the crinoline, I cut about 4 strips of crinoline. It was the width of the fabric, and I'm going to connect each one. And before I gathered that skirt for the lining, I decided to add crinoline to the bottom hem so you can give it more body to the dress, because my dress is kind of like chiffon. And these are all 4 strips connected side by side. So here I gathered it up and then ease it into the fabric at the bottom hem of the lining before I gathered the skirt into the bodice. So here it is. You can see the lining fully done. The crinoline was placed on the wrong side of the fabric, and now I'm going to install my lining. I did not do the sleeve because I left the sleeve to be sheared. So once you have everything installed, your dress is finally complete, and it will look like this. If you love this video, give it a thumbs up, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.